Thank you so much, honorable members. Chief Whip, you may proceed.
No, thanks, Chair. I think, Minister, I think the first thing that I just want to bring your attention to, and you don't have to go and read because I will quote and give you the context. On your affidavit, which you presented to us, paragraph 27 and paragraph 37. Paragraph 27 talks about the fact that the extension of the lifespan of the PKT was done on the basis of a consultation between the minister and the National Commissioner. And I would imagine that would be a meaningful consultation, meaning a direct consultation that would have taken place. Now, on paragraph 37, you are then saying that you are bringing to our attention actually that both generals, Masemula and Mchunu, in your own words, you are saying they failed to produce the evidence of the extension because the last extension that took place was before the resignation of the then National Commissioner, General Sithole. Now, my question is, in terms of that position, Minister, do you have any evidence which confirms that indeed there was no consultation?
Rather that there was no extension.
Sorry, yeah. No, let me explain why I'm putting it this way. Remember, your contention is that throughout the period after General Sithole departed, the two generals who came before us were unable to provide evidence that the sustenance of the PKT was as a consequence of a confirmed consultation between the National Commissioner and the Minister. That would be Minister Pegicel in this case. Now, my question is, do you have evidence that actually there wasn't any consultation? Remember, they didn't give us evidence that there was a consultation according to your contention. But will you be in the position to give us evidence contrary? That actually, here is the evidence. There was never a consultation.
I'm trying to think what form other than that it's not there. Maybe some investigation, because you can have it in concretely when it is there, but when it is not there, it will be difficult to say here is evidence other than via an investigation within the department to say. But on my check, I was satisfied that none exists.
Okay. Now, in the normal course of events, would that consultation only be limited to a written and signed document between the Minister and the National Commissioner, or it might also include a conversation between the two?
I would basically argue that it would have been written based on information that I got, that it was written, but I can't deny that it may have taken whatever other form, if it did.
Okay.
But in this instance,
Yeah.
it was based on written.
Okay. No, thanks, Minister. I was asking that question because I thought, because even when General Sithole left and General Masemula took over, I suppose that's how they followed each other, or whatever the sequence might have been. But even as he has departed, the evidence exists that beyond his tenure, meetings of the IMC did take place and reports were taken to cabinet,
Yeah.
which may therefore justify a conclusion that in whatever form it may have taken, a green light was given by both the then Minister Cele and the National Commissioner for the PKT to be extended. So that is the point that I wanted to make. You may want to comment on it.
Yes, it's not just the reason why I was doubting verbal, it was because it has to be in the form of an assessment written down, as opposed to a request for money. There's a distinction. That's why the CFO in 2024 March talks about the need for a work study if the National Political Killings Task Team is to be drafted into the organogram. It suggests that there would have been a work study. It can't be verbal. And that such a work study signed and would then extend the term, and then it would release money, as opposed to the process going the other way around. So I doubt that you could do it verbally, both the assessment and signing for the extension.
So in that context, Minister, shouldn't we then come to the conclusion that if there was an expectation that a meaningful consultation will occur between the Minister and the National Commissioner to extend, that therefore a meaningful consultation would also be rationally expected between the Minister and the National Commissioner to discontinue?
It would be expected.
It would be expected.
I think so, if I hear you well.
Okay. But in this case, we can conclude that because if the way in which you would expect it would be in a written form, in some form of an assessment, remember, between the big chiefs, the Minister and the National Commission.
Yes.
Would I be wrong then to conclude that that did not meaningfully happen between the Minister Mchunu and General Masemula in the case of a discontinuity?
That there was no extension.
Meaningful consultation between the two chiefs that, okay, were discontinuing.
No, I have explained that I didn't consult per se on face-to-face or in writing, but there were meetings on factors. I singled out one factor that I had a problem with. It is the category of people who came to report certain things, certain practices. And I felt that because of this factor, I wouldn't be able to, I would be able to rely on it to effect the directive. And then we will have discussions later, but I took that as risky and serious, and that I wouldn't be able to go to anyone and talk to them on this particular matter.
Okay.
But
Now-
others, I would want to you to underline that there have been processes, there have been everything, but not on the actual directive to disestablish.
Now, in your response to a question from the Senior Council, including from some of my colleagues, Minister, you made references to the fact that you had directed the Chief of Staff to send the letter to the Acting Commissioner and the National Commissioner.
Yes.
And then he decided without your direction to send it to the PAs of other generals. And I want to say, would the PAs of other generals include the PA of General SB?
I can't recall specifically, but I do recall him indicating that he sent to some PAs. I can't recall whether he did it to all deputy national commissioners.
Okay. I'm asking this question, and I really would not hold you accountable for that because that was a person acting outside your instruction. But I'm asking this question because a particular web has been created of Mokgotsi, Matlala, Sbiya, and I will explain later on why that web becomes a matter of concern to us and his conduct to decide that beyond what the minister has asked me to do, I'm also sending to all others. Because when you read that web, it becomes, it's very difficult to believe that he would have excluded the PA of General SB.
Yes.
And it's very easy to conclude that the inclusion of General SB as PA may very well be informed by the fact that he had an interest for SBIA to act faster without being delayed by anybody else above SBIA. I mean, that's not your question. It's a question we will pose to him, given the deductions that we can make when we look at the sequence of events after that. But I'm not posing it to you. And then when you were responding to Honorable Malema on the Mokgotsi question, of course, you referred to the character that you did not know, and we explained what you explained. I don't want to get into details about what exactly did you say. Now, he appears to be very central to the crisis we're handling, Mokgotsi, in one way or the other. Will there be a way in which this will have an impact in your relationship with him? Will it define the relationship in any way? You don't have to tell me in what way, but given what has happened now, and here is this character, do you think that is going to redefine the way in which you related to him?
Without it being central, and my view is that it is not central, but your second question, definitely it would have to. It will have to affect the relationship. Why? Because I related to him as an ordinary comrade, just like I do to other comrades, many comrades. And then I relate to all of them without asking them many questions. Like when I heard that he may have had his membership expired, I recall, I never asked him whether your card is current. And it happened so with other comrades. So I would say that I just took it as a comrade whenever we talk and relate. It's only now that I get to know other things that, there's this as well. So he talks to so-and-so, he talks to so-and-so, all these people that are being revealed in the Madlanga Commission, which I had no information about. The first time I sort of blew my nose was when somebody said, this guy seemed to be talking about you, dropping your name, and so on. It was sometime this year, to which I reacted by calling him to say, I'm getting information that you dropped my name where you are and all of that, which he denied. And I had no way of, confronting him at that time to say, but here and so on. But it will definitely redefine the relationship. It will have to redefine.
Okay, thanks. Now, when you were responding to Honorable Nomvalo, I think he was asking you a question in relation to how you gathered together the information which help you to come to a conclusion. Some of it was from the public, others, so it came from different centers or different platforms.
Yes.
Now, given what I would say, Minister, is an established fact, at least in my own assessment, that there's been a huge public condemnation of this decision. Now, the decision I'm talking about is a decision to de-establish the National Political Killing Task Team. I may be wrong, but my own assessment is that there's been a huge public condemnation. And of course, it's informed by many things, some of which I will come to it later on. Would you say that had you been alive to all that you know today, you could have taken a different decision?
I would specifically say I would have taken the same decision, but the form would have been different. Like I said yesterday, I said when somebody was asking me, given what has happened, whether I would find a different approach to this, whether I would do it differently. I said yes, I would do, now that all these things, I would do it differently. Now, I'm saying the same thing. The decision would have needed to be taken, Honorable Mpemba, based on, it's even if you try to duck it, you try to avoid it, you would have needed to take a decision of this nature at some point, purely based on how you use money that is available, and ask yourself whether the way we are using money currently in SAPS is optimal, is in line with the wish to protect everybody, not only in KZN but in the country. Is it optimal use, and also given the fact that you now have the new structure which does everything that the National Political Killings Task Team is meant to do, and so on. So you would have had to take the decision, but maybe the form that it would take, you definitely would have needed, if you were aware, if I was aware, I would have taken, it would have taken a different form, the same decision.
On paragraph 84 of your affidavit, Minister, you are referring to the meeting that took place on the 21st of November. And that is a meeting of the minister and his two deputy ministers. And you are very particular that that meeting, among its own part of its decisions, was that the minister must have a meeting with the National Commissioner.
Yes,
There was a web of, a lot of allegations that were there, and the direction was that the minister must meet with the National Commission. Now, before you answer that, on the 22nd, there's another meeting that takes place, which is not a meeting of the minister and the National Commission, but it's all other people who are there. Was the meeting of the 22nd already planned when you went to the meeting of the 21st?
Yes, because we can't, we couldn't call a meeting in a day. It was already planned. It was already in our plans. I think we had a little chat about that even on the 21st. But yes, it was already planned. But on the first question, the actual resolution was that no, engage the National Commissioner, of course, in the meeting. That was how we framed it.
Don't you think that maybe if you had engaged the National Commissioner in a way that I think you were directed by your meeting with your colleagues, as opposed to engaging him in a bigger meeting with everybody else on the 22nd, you would have understood each other very well? And I'm asking that in the context of the fact that the National Commissioner came to you a month earlier, in October, and raised concerns about some of his colleagues, including his deputy, General Sbiya. Now, you now meet on the 21st of November, again on the 22nd. And we got a sense that on the 22nd, that is where a discussion took place about challenges facing the organization. But don't you think that a one-on-one with him to go deeper on these matters would have been helpful as opposed to the 22nd meeting?
They perhaps would, but on the 22nd, I still had no idea how, what the engagement would need to take, what form it would need to take, because we had just met the previous day. So I was beginning to think, what would be the issues, what would be the approach, and so on. And I was still way before I could settle with anything that would make sense to me at that particular time. But theoretically, had something settled already to me, definitely, I see that would have been the case, assisted, yes.
I'm asking that, Minister, because I mean, you sit with your deputies, and that's a political leadership of the department. And I imagine that when you were looking at these allegations, you were not looking at them in general. There may have been some general things, but you would be particularly concerned about their evolution. Maybe the allegations now, they might tomorrow evolve to be the truth. So now you're the political head, you're sitting with your colleagues, and they're saying, please go and engage the chief of the police, because we can all see these things are going to lead into a major national crisis if they remain unattended. So that is why I was raising this question, because I was worried that it seems like you place less value to that conversation, and yet the October meeting, you met with him and he raised concerns himself about some of his colleagues.
Yeah, the meeting of the 22nd, our minds were made up for raising other issues which were different from this one, and they were specific. I was going to raise as I did, the murder rate, the drugs and firearms, and then GBVNF. So we're like made up for that, even on the agenda and every other thing. But had it not been maybe for that, I continue to agree with you that you would have taken a step maybe much earlier, it would have helped, but it wasn't to be one, because I had not made up my mind, not because I put less value, not at all. I allowed it to sink, to occupy my mind going forward, and it did for some time though, because I was saying, if I were to engage, what form, what issues? And there were already issues on the basket. We were going for the workshop, 3-day workshop, and that included equity matters between different units and better conditions. So that was already occupying our mind at the summit later. But I had this thing that there are serious matters that we have to discuss, and I wanted to tackle those at the beginning of the year.
No, thanks, Minister. In paragraph 140 of your statement, paragraph 140, you make reference to the role of crime intelligence and the killing of Mr. Makaka. What is the issue there? Would you like to share that with us, or it's a matter that...
Well, it's basically something that some of the people that I say contacted me wanted to talk about. Yes, maybe I could put it at that, which I then said, I would want these people or that person to come in person wherever, which I had no idea at that time what form it would take. That's why at the beginning of the year, should it be a ministerial inquiry? I had that. That's why I even had a discussion with Pikoli and so on. But we had not settled, we didn't settle on that idea, but there was an idea that there should be a platform of sorts for such people and allegations of that nature.
Okay. In your affidavit, paragraph 158, you refer to a recruitment of intelligence to strengthen a certain paramilitary structure in KZN. What is that?
Well, it's in the context of the need which was expressed via the directive which I was meant to sit with the National Commissioner on. And it's one of the issues that I intended originally to have a discussion on with the National Commissioner, among others, as we sit and discuss what recruitment, what form it should take, what are the other things that we should bear in mind. I had picked up information that there were such intentions in KZN. I wouldn't be able to talk in details, but somehow these would also rely on some of our structures as those get built. In other words, they would exploit any weakness and take any possibility as those paramilitary structures get established on the site.
Well, are you comfortable to share more on that? Because I'm asking because what you are saying in your affidavit is that this paramilitary structure, which was being organized or being set up in KZN, had its own ambition. Now, I don't know whether the ambition are of the structure or the creator, and whether the structure is in existence already, or you were picking up information that it was about to be. Because, but your statement say to strengthen the paramilitary structure in KZN. So I would imagine strengthening means it's existing already. And it has ambitions.
Existing in some form, but there was that, according to what I got, and the ambition is that of those who were said to be behind such structures.
But would this not be the PKT?
Well, PKT is a political party.
No, I'm saying when you talk about this structure, you are not referring to the National Political Killing Task Team.
Oh, I thought my mind is on something else. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but it might.
Well, I'm sure if any matter would have been gone into, if such a fact would turn out to be true, then it would be. But from the legal that I got, it just came in that form that some paramilitary is in the formation, strengthening, and so on.
Were you given a sense by the people who shared that information with you? Were you given a sense of the nature of the relationship between the PKT and the paramilitary structure?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay. I hope that matter, Minister, will have to be followed very urgently, given the fact that, as you know, you know where we come from in KZN. I don't have to educate you or anyone about it. And of course, if at your level, there's an observation of a structure like that being in existence and with its own ambitions, which I would imagine are devoid from the ambition of the South African security forces, that does present a particular threat.
I agree with you fully.
Thank you. And then, Minister, the meeting that was, I think you've dealt with this question at a different level, about the meeting that was requested by General Mchunu, in which he wanted to attend with all these other people, including Mr. Brown Mokgotsi, who is not part of the organization. Now, I know you responded why you did not grant that meeting, and you explained, and you had a plan that you were also having an intention at some point to have a one-on-one with General Mchunu,
Yes.
so that he can have an opportunity to express himself and you can understand each other.
Yes.
But some of the issues that resulted in you not taking that direction, and this may not be exhaustive, but some of those issues was the level of anger on his part and the threat that he meted against you. What would you say to a South African that is sitting somewhere and saying, in that environment, was it not the case that the individual interest or circumstances of the minister, our minister, remember this is our minister, all of us as South Africans, were now taking precedence. They were taking precedence over national interest. Because here is a very senior general. I'm saying senior because it's a provincial commissioner, and he says, among other things, when he's asking for a meeting, besides his family issues and what, but he begins by talking about internal challenges in the organization. Now we are sitting there as a South African, you hear that part of the reason that the minister could not meet with this general were around the question of the threat and the anger of the general. How would you respond to this South African who say, maybe at that moment, the individual interests of the minister were taking precedence over our national interest?
Not really, because I decided that the meeting would rather take a different form. Let me start with a meeting of General Masimula and General Sibia. Let me then go to the meeting with General Sibia and General Mchunu, which were not my interests, beyond that of the nation. So I decided a different angle, or to start the meeting in a different way. These other ones, his posture after, as a reaction to my directives, was not uppermost at that time, but they were in the environment, as I said before. But the main thing was, so General Mchunu is talking about internal issues. He's mentioning these people. Perhaps I should start with the two whose matters are kind of buzzing in SAPS at head office, from where I sat, so that we move and so on, intensify these interactions. If there are problems, let's resolve. At some point I said to National Commissioner, could he give me an opportunity to resolve or to approach General Sibia on his own matters as alleged and so on. So I was very keen to actually not leave anything but in the context of that request, but also in my own right, because I was sensing that there is a certain level of turmoil. So never did that happen, or nearly happen, that I had personal interests on the matter. I was just putting it aside, looking at it, how it would develop, that kind of reaction. And we're going on to work with